In the wetlands of Louisiana, an invasive rodent the size of a small dog is quietly destroying marshes, levees, and coastal ecosystems. It eats enormous amounts of vegetation, weakens riverbanks, and contributes to wetland collapse. Some people call it a swamp rat. So why are restaurants now serving this destructive rodent as gourmet food? Because hidden inside this ecological disaster is a surprisingly clever food mechanism. Hey everyone, welcome back to Tiny Mechanisms Around the World, where strange little systems quietly reshape the world around us. Today we're uncovering how nutria became dinner. Nutria, also called koi poo, originally came from South America. They were introduced to the United States in the 1930s for the fur trade. But when the fur market collapsed, many escaped or were released into the wild. Today they thrive in places like Louisiana, Texas, Florida, and parts of the Pacific Northwest. And they're incredibly destructive. Nutria consume huge amounts of marsh vegetation, leaving wetlands vulnerable to erosion and flooding. A single nutria can eat up to 25% of its body weight in plants every day. In Louisiana alone, nutria contribute to tens of millions of dollars in wetland damage annually. That matters because wetlands act like natural storm barriers, helping protect coastal communities from hurricanes and flooding. The rodents also dig burrows into levees and riverbanks, weakening important infrastructure. And because nutria reproduce rapidly, their populations can explode very quickly. Then people discovered something interesting. Nutria meat is actually edible and surprisingly decent. The meat is lean, high in protein, low in fat, and often compared to rabbit or dark chicken. That created a strange opportunity. Instead of simply treating nutria as waste, hunters, processors, and chefs began turning them into food. There's also a fascinating psychological mechanism underneath all this. Nutria, and especially swamp rat, doesn't sound very appetizing. So some restaurants and marketers began using names like swamp rabbit to make the meat feel more rustic, wild, and approachable. And honestly, it worked. Today, nutria appears in gumbo, sausages, jambalaya, smoked meat dishes, and fried nuggets, especially in parts of Louisiana known for Cajun cooking traditions. This creates a practical incentive system. Governments and landowners spend large amounts trying to control nutria populations. But turning the animals into food helps offset some of those costs by creating demand for hunters to remove them from the wetlands. The invasive species becomes not just a pest, but a usable resource. A nutria chewing through Louisiana marshes may be considered a destructive invasive rodent. But hours later, that same animal may appear in a Cajun restaurant as smoked sausage, gumbo, or fried swamp rabbit. The animal itself barely changed. Its economic identity changed completely. What makes this story fascinating is that value was never only about the animal itself. It was created through culture, food psychology, rebranding, and environmental necessity. Sometimes the difference between pest and dinner is surprisingly small. So next time you're in Louisiana and see something called swamp rabbit on a menu, look carefully. You might actually be looking at part of an invasive species control system. Would you ever try nutria meat? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this episode of Tiny Mechanisms Around the World, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Take care!